Just as we start now, we're going to be looking at the whole thing of mismatch. Looking at mismatch. Remember we said that mismatch is when you're kind of almost dislocated. You're not really plugged in where you need to be, or you're in a position where you have people working under you who are also mismatched and they're not thriving. So we want to think about it from two different perspectives today, because some of us oversee people and some of us are the overseen ones. So what we'd like you to do is just to have a look on page 4 of your notes. There's an exercise there which was designed by the two researchers I told you about, and we're going to look at 7 areas of our life to see how well matched we are. Now this is interesting because it deals more with a lot of emotional things than internal things. So the areas you'll be looking at is the amount of workload, your sense of control. Are you being controlled, or do you feel in control? How rewarding is it? And this doesn't mean selfishly rewarding, it means how fulfilling is it? What sense of community exists in the place where you are? The levels of fairness, do you feel like it's a fair environment? And then the last 2 are the values. Do the values align? And how well does it align with your capacity to deliver the responsibilities? So take a few moments to read through each one of these, and I want you to rate yourself in one of 3 areas. In this area, I am well matched. In this area, I think there's some mismatch. It's tolerable, but there's mismatch. And if there's a major mismatch, where you really don't, this is just not right for me. This just doesn't fit. I just don't line up here. So take about 5 minutes to do that like last time. Just off the top of your head, don't try to think about it too much. But yes. I was actually going to say that. I said, I would like you to think about, this is for your benefit. You're not doing this for me, you're doing this for you. So if you would like to do one, say like if you're involved in a workplace, secular work where you sense there's mismatch, you can do it in 2 contexts. Maybe one check you can use one color, or make it in a different place, or even just write the initial of which one it is. Do it for wherever you're involved, because I think then you get a more comprehensive, holistic picture. Because a lot of you are involved at your church on a volunteer basis. Okay, you can do that, but also think about your secular work that you're involved in as well, just to see how much of a sense of match, because this looks at neutral criteria. It doesn't look at like your spiritual gifts and that kind of thing. It's mainly how you're made and how you're designed to engage with that particular environment. So take a few minutes and even do both of them. I think that'll be helpful for you. Now, it's very important to be honest on these, okay? If you're not honest about it, the only one you're hurting is yourself. It's very important to realize that. Okay, for those of you who already finished, need you to look at the 3 questions on page 5, just to think about it for a minute, to evaluate. In what areas are you matched and mismatched? Matched meaning that your values align, your capacity is appropriate, that sort of thing. Mismatch being our values clash, my capacity doesn't line up with what I'm expected to do, that sort of thing. So in what areas are you matched and mismatched? In what areas are you badly mismatched? Those are the ones you really want to look at. Then the second one would be looking at corrective or positive engagement to try to alleviate the situation. If you're experiencing high levels of stress due to mismatch, what measures can you take to avert heightened levels of stress and possible burnout? And you need to think both on what you can do and what the organization can do, because everything can be negotiated. So that's important to realize. Okay, let's do a quick survey. Looking at workload, how many of you feel like the workload you have at present is appropriate and you feel well matched with that? Let's see your hands. Okay, how many of you feel there's a bit of a mismatch there? Maybe the workload's not appropriate. How many of you feel badly matched there, that really it's a problem? Anybody? Okay, a couple. That's good. Well, see, you're being honest, so that's good. This will help you take some measures to deal with it. Second, control. How are you feeling on control? Do you feel like control-wise you're okay with the amount of control you have in your situation? Who's okay with that? How many of you feel there might be a bit of mismatch, that you need a bit more control for the amount of responsibility you have? How many feel there's a mismatch, or a bad mismatch, that really you're being used like a slave or whatever. Okay, that's good. Okay, reward. How many of you are fulfilled? Do you feel a real strong sense of fulfillment in what you're doing at the present time? That's what reward really means. Okay, that's not very high. Okay, so that's an indicator that you need to be doing some praying and thinking. How many of you feel there's mismatch in the area that it's not fulfilling? You're not either being compensated properly, you don't feel the internal fulfillment, that there's some mismatch there. Okay, how many feel badly mismatched? Once again, that creates a lot of frustration because you feel like I'm being used, I'm not being appreciated, and that's a terrible feeling. Community. How many of you feel that the sense of community and relationships that you're experiencing where you are now is really, really positive? It's really a great environment. Okay, that's wonderful, especially to see church leaders raising your hand on that. Okay, how many of you feel there's a bit of mismatch on that, hey, relationships really aren't what they should be? Okay, and how many of you feel that you're badly mismatched there, that there's this like zero relationship and you're just a thing? Anybody like that at all? Okay, all right. Okay, what about fairness? That the environment is a fair environment, that you're not frustrated, but you feel like things are done correctly. There's no discrimination, no nepotism, no favoritism. You're not in government. Oh, sorry. And that there's no preference given to some people over others, but there's really a just and a fair environment. How many feel like you're in that kind of situation? Well, that's wonderful to see so many people. That's great. How many feel there's some mismatch there? There's a bit of favoritism and stuff. How many feel it's really bad? It's not nice when it's really bad, eh? Okay. Yeah, that's a difficult thing. I've been in that before, so I know what that's like. Values. How well aligned are your values to what you're doing? Do you feel like you and the organization, or you and the leader that you're under, your values are very similar and you really connect at that level? How many feel, okay, that's great. How many feel there's a bit of mismatch there? Okay, and how many feel it's badly matched? So you're in different worlds. Anybody? Okay, all right. Good. So what you need to do is just write down how many well-matched, mismatched, and how many major mismatches you are, because it's very important that you answer these questions. That in what areas are you matched or mismatched? In what areas are you badly mismatched? Those are the ones really you need to look at. Or if you have a lot of just normal mismatches, because you're not going to find that you're going to do well there in the long term. And then the thing to do is think about, well, how can I change things from my side? And if you make attitude adjustments and behavioral adjustments, you take time to negotiate or whatever it may be, and it still doesn't change, then it's time to start praying about your future, because you won't last. It just is an intolerable environment. That's very important. This is another good exercise to do. Whenever you're in a new position or a new responsibility after you've been there 3 to 5 months, is a very good exercise to do. That was based on professional research by those two people I told you about. And I think it's just good to make you ask deep questions, not service questions, but deep questions about how well aligned am I, how well matched am I to the environment in which I find myself.